I'm super excited to be starting this YouTube channel. Basically what it's going to be about is going to be about college life, college tips, medical school things, and really just tips and things that people our age, high school, college, kind of leaving that arena are going to be dealing with, right? So that's what I'm going to be talking about. I'm super excited. Let's get into it. All right, y'all, so today's video is going to be about how to pick a college. I'm going to basically give you a couple of tips that I use and I think would help you based on my experience for picking a college that you're really going to enjoy over the 4 or 5 years that you're there. So, number one is the distance from home. So this is kind of overlooked by a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people just kind of choose a college that their peers are picking or for other reasons, but you really got to think about the distance because it really affects the experience that you have. So I know for me personally, I live in Florida and I chose Hampton University, which is in Virginia. I didn't want to be too close. So when you're too close, it can kind of make you feel like you're not really going to college, if that makes sense, because you're still in the same area. You still are right next to your parents, still right next to the same old people that you've been with for the last 4 years in high school. So for that reason, you might choose to go somewhere far away, but at the same time, you don't want to be isolated. And so, if I'm in Florida, I wouldn't want to go to California because you still need your at-home support system, right? So if I'm in Florida, I wouldn't want to go to California or something like that, unless, that is what you want to do, but you just have to be aware that, you're not going to be able to go home as much. Your parents might not fly out to see you as much. If you have friends that might come to visit you, you're not going to be able to do that as much. So it's really not for anybody to tell you, but it's more something just to consider and think about and really look kind of introspection, right? And see what it is that you want to do. All right, y'all, next we got number two. And number two is going to be the cost. Now these, I'm not giving you like a list in any particular order, but cost is something that a lot of people pay a lot of attention on. And I think that's kind of a double-edged sword. So I'm definitely not telling you to go somewhere where you're going to run up $300,000 in debt over 4 years, because that's not what I would do, right? But at the same time, I know a lot of people just choose colleges based on, I want to go to the cheapest place as possible. So if there's some place in the state that's offering $20,000 a year versus some place where I can go $35,000 a year, they're just taking the $20,000. And that's smart to some extent, but you have to recognize college is not just about money. College is about so many other things than just money. So you have to really think about what are the other things. These are supposed to be the best years of my life. I'm sure you've heard parents, graduates, a bunch of people say it, right? College is supposed to be one of the greatest times of your life. So don't dumb it down or kind of make it less than it should be just because you're trying to save a dime, right? So it's kind of a fine balance. You have to figure out what's right for you. Don't go somewhere where you're going to run up an unnecessary check, but don't go somewhere just because it's cheap, right? Go somewhere where you're going to really enjoy the culture. All right, y'all. So next we got number three. And this one's kind of important. It's kind of different. I feel like a lot of people don't really notice this, especially if you're coming from a small town or you've only been in one spot your whole life. The people. That is a big thing that I definitely recognized when I went to Hampton, is that there are so many people from everywhere. So like you've heard of Southern hospitality and stuff like that, where Northerners don't do that. And you just have to recognize that people don't do life the way you do life necessarily, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how it is. People grew up in different areas with different cultures, with different beliefs. And so wherever you're going to go, you definitely have to look into, the people that are going to be there, right? And you can find these types of things on simply going on Instagram, going on Twitter, and following a college's like an Instagram or whatever it is, right? Because they'll show you their culture, and you'll be able to start to see some of those things, right? So I'm just gonna say definitely don't sleep on that. Take a look into it and see what kind of people are there, because it will definitely impact your college experience if you are not prepared for it. All right, y'all, so the next one, number 4, is going to be your major. So I know a lot of people don't know exactly like what you're going to be doing, what exactly you want to do with your life. We're all kind of in that stage. And you don't need to worry too much about it, at least the first couple of years, because the first 2 years are mostly just general courses. like written communications and stuff like that everybody takes. So if you don't know exactly what you want to do, that's okay. But you should have some general idea, like whether it's going to be, I want to major in math, I want to major in physics, or whatever it is, I want to do sports, whatever it is, have some general idea, because just because a school is great overall doesn't mean a specific department is particularly good. So an example would be like, Hampton is a great school, but we have some departments that are not that good. And people will tell you when you get there, if you're here and you're majoring in this, don't do it. Just don't. Right? And so there's something like that at every school. So just try and figure that out. You can do that in a lot of ways. There is a website, I think it's called like Rate My College or something like that. I can put it in the description. That will basically, you type in your college, and they don't have every college, but they have most. And so when you put your college in, they will basically explain, like, they have a bunch of things like how politically active people are on campus, what's the drug scene like, what's the parties like, how important is Greek life, give you a little bit of description. It even has a rating at the top, so you can see like what people really think of the college. So one, you can do that. Two, if you go on every college website lists all their professors. So, if I want to go to math, right, I would go to Hampton's website. I would go to like students or academics. It should be somewhere in there. And you can find the professors that teach. And then if you go to Rate My Professor, you can see what people have listed them. And then obviously that's not going to be a perfect picture because people's opinions can be biased, but it can give you a general outline of what people have thought about this professor in the past. So I would definitely do that, because if you want to do a major and you get to a school and the people can't teach, you are going to struggle, and you'll probably either end up not doing as well as you want to, transferring, or switching majors. And right, you don't want that to be your situation. So definitely look into that before you go to the school. Check out their professors, check out how people say the major is, and make sure that's something you want to commit to over the 4 years, because difficult professors that cannot teach can make or break your college experience for sure. Now, I don't want to go make it seem like it's more important than it is, because in any difficult, curriculum, I'm a biology pre-med major, so right now I'm taking physics, I'm taking biochemistry, I'm taking organic chemistry. With any of those types of classes, you're going to have to teach yourself to some extent. So at some point, you have to learn, but you still want a teacher that is going to care enough to teach you things and be willing to help you when you're struggling, right? So definitely just look into that and make sure it's something you want to commit to. All right, y'all, you have made it to number 5. So number 5 is going to be others' recommendations. And what I mean by that is people around you that know you pretty well. So friends that have gone to college, hopefully, or even friends that haven't, they can still give you an opinion on what they think based on how they know you. Parents, guardians, teachers that you're close with, counselors, coaches, really anybody that's been through college and knows you somewhat. Now, like I said, I personally would not advise, that you just do what they say, because that might not necessarily be right for you. They might not know you the way they think they do. But I would definitely give it, a little bit of attention and let that be a factor that determines or helps determine where you're going to go to college, right? Because that can definitely give you a perspective that you didn't necessarily see, but that's helpful in choosing the college that you want to go to, right? All right, y'all, so we're now at number 6. So I'm titling this sports, but really what I mean by sports is the campus life, right? So at some schools, sports are a super huge thing, right? When you go to the bigger schools, football, basketball, sometimes soccer or whatever it is, are going to be huge things, right? But every campus has something that's big. So whether that's Greek life, at Hampton, Greek life's a huge thing. And for those of you that don't know what Greek life is basically fraternities and sororities, and you can look more up about that. But a lot of people do it, and it's a big thing on campus. Some schools are party schools. And that's not for me, but if that's your thing, go for it. But really just looking into those things, and again, the best way to do that, you can go to Rate My College. They have even a little bit about that. They talk about Greek life, they talk about sports, partying, all that type of thing. So that's one way. And another really good method that I don't think a lot of people use enough is we all have social media. The people that are in college right now have social media. So if you're looking to go to a college, literally type in, whatever, if I want to go to Hampton Hampton University, and find some people that go. Oh yeah, it's as simple as DMing them. Like, more than likely, as long as you come correct, right? They'll answer and they'll let you know what they think about their university. And college students will be straight up with you. Like, more than likely, they're not going to sugarcoat it. So now obviously, I would say you should probably stay to your own gender. Because like, if it's a guy going to a girl or vice versa, right? They might think something's trying to go, But as long as you stick with your own gender and, stick to the basics, like keep it about the business, they'll answer and they'll give you real feedback, and then you'll be able to make a better decision. All right, so the final factor that I'm going to include in this video that I think is super important, especially this is more like geared towards minorities, but even if you're not a minority, it kind of applies to you too, so stick around, is HBCU versus PWI. So if you don't know what that means, HBCU stands for Historically Black College or University, which is, as the name sounds, a college that has historically been Black or minority, right? PWI stands for Predominantly White Institution. So that's going to be the majority of your courses or colleges. So the difference for me has been kind of indescribable. To tell you guys a little bit about myself, I am obviously from Florida, and Florida has something called Bright Futures. And so basically, like, long story short, if you have a certain SAT score, GPA, hours of service, and some other things, you can get different levels taken off your school tuition. And the highest one, they pay for everything, right? I don't know if they're still doing that with COVID going on or what's the case, but they were doing it when I graduated in 2019. So anyway, I had that, right? I had the top one. I could have gone anywhere I wanted to in Florida. I think as long as it's public, I could have gone free. And then on top of that, you get whatever scholarship they decide to give you. So whatever scholarship I would have gotten from them would have been in my pocket. I would have essentially been getting paid to go to school, right? And so I was like, that's a good deal. And so I didn't even consider really Hampton, any outside schools. Like, I was like, I'm gonna go somewhere in Florida and get paid and I'm gonna be about my money, you know what I'm saying? But I really had people around me telling me, like, you really need to go to an HBCU. Like, you really need to go. And as somebody like who's grown up, I'm sure a lot of you guys probably have, in like predominantly white areas, you miss out on a lot of like Black culture. And there's no really easy way to explain it. When I remember talking to my parents and I was like, why should I go? Like, I'm passing up free college and $10K a year. Why would I do that? You know what I'm saying? And it's really difficult to put in words. And I'm gonna try and keep it brief, but it's just like meeting people that have had experiences like you, but a lot of them. And that's like the best way I can put it. It's just an experience you need to have, because you're not gonna find an HBCU culture anywhere but college. Because, obviously, like most high schools, high school maybe, middle school maybe, but I'm saying afterwards going forward, business-wise, career-wise, you're not going to find an atmosphere that's like an HBCU. So if you haven't like given it a thought, I'm not saying you have to go to HBCU. It's definitely up to you. But, if you're applying to 6 or 7, maybe 8 colleges, I would definitely throw in maybe 2 or 3 if you're a minority to get the experience, because you will definitely not regret it. Definitely will not regret it. Now, if you're going to go to HBCU, I recommend the Real HU Hampton.
I said what I said. Okay.
But, that's just my personal opinion. Definitely just do the research on your own. Consider all the things that I've talked about today, too, because they all play a huge role, in your college experience. And these are supposed to be the best years of your life, so you really do want to enjoy it and make sure you're getting something out of the institution that you're going to pay a bunch of money to, right? So that is my final tip, guys.